Hello, everyone. Continuing in the theme of children and Shabbat, we'll talk about even more permissivity when it comes to a child because they are compared to a sick person, and so and we'll tie it to the parsha at the end. Sages forbade a Jew to ask a non-Jew to do melacha for him on Shabbat. That's what it says in the Torah, where Leman yanuach avdecha v'amcha kamocha, that you're not allowed to ask a non-Jew to do anything for you. And so the Torah prohibition is for them to do something for you by request, and the sages put another fence, which is that you're not allowed to ask directly to do something that is not for them but only for you. And so we said that we're allowed to say what's called remez by a hint, saying, for example, it's hot in the room, and the non-Jew understands that the air conditioning turned off and it needs to be turned on. In contrast, if a child needs something very badly, their status is akin to that of one who is ill, for whom one may ask a non-Jew to do melacha. So, in the laws of pikuach nefesh, meaning danger for life, the law is that even the Chachmei Israel, the sages of Israel, the elders, are required to do melacha for somebody who's ill that might die if we don't take care of them. But somebody who's what's called cholesh she'en bo sakana, there's no threat to their actual life, just that their condition might get worse. Um, so that is the cholesh she'en bo sakana, that we are allowed to ask a non-Jew to do melacha, and that's going back to what we said yesterday, shvut de shvut, a rabbinic uh, fence for another rabbinic fence. For example, if a child has no food and is hungry, one may ask a non-Jew to cook for them, as opposed to just hinting, my child is hungry. It would be really nice if you cooked something for them. It can be asked directly. If they desperately need light, one may ask a non-Jew to turn on a light for them. That's in the Ramah and the Mishnah Berurah. In general, there's a greater need to be lenient on behalf of babies, but one may be lenient even with very needy older children, just as they would be lenient with a sick person. And so it doesn't matter if we are talking about Gil Chinuch, which was the majority of the halachas that we discussed in the previous days, but even somebody who is between 7 and 13 for a boy and 12 for a girl, they are still considered like a sick person because their needs might get them even more sick. If you remember, we talked about taking a girl with her doll, even in a place where there's no eruv, because taking the doll away from them would cause them even more hysterics and make them actually physically and mentally sick. A child who is not feeling well may take medicine even if the pain is mild, just as the enactment prohibiting the use of medication on Shabbat does not apply to a sick person, so too it does not apply to a child. So if you remember, we talked about not grinding the medicine and preparing it the way that the pharmacist does in the old days when people were using what we call bube medicine. No, that's not the right word, but trufot savta in Hebrew, meaning that old women's remedies, even if they're not proven, and that is not allowed to be prepared for an adult on Shabbat, but who is not deathly ill or in danger of losing their life. But for a child, they go into the category of cholesh she'en bo sakana. Thus, if necessary, one may put cream on a baby's skin on condition that one does not spread it completely. Diaper rash and stuff like that is allowed. Rather, one should simply place the cream on the skin. If the baby's diaper then causes the cream to spread, one does not violate any prohibition since the cream was not applied in order to smooth the skin. It was not done for beauty purposes or stuff like that. It was just to prevent the rash from getting any further. So in Parshat Kitavo, we are exposed to 98 different curses, and a lot of them are relating to physical and mental health. And in fact, when we were kids, we used to say jokingly that if you read the Torah literally out of context, there is a positive commandment to be crazy, because it says "V'hayita meshuga." The way that the Torah is describing it is that you will become crazy from what you see, because it will make total nonsense to you, because it would be so awful and crazy. And we are at a time now that some of these curses are coming true, where right is wrong and wrong is right, and we don't know who is good and who is bad, because everybody tries to show a different kind of way of life, and it's very confusing. And so, Beit HaMeshuga, jokes aside, it is a time where our rabbis tell us that even at the worst of times, Hashem will not forsake us and will not leave us. And so, the curses should be seen as, we already went through most of them. After the Holocaust, a lot of people said that, the Messiah has to come now, because that was the worst of the worst. We are now 80 years later, and there's still all kinds of very, very bad things happening, illnesses that were never part of our regular life. Not only HIV and stuff like that, but even Corona, which killed millions of people. The Torah lists all kinds of illnesses that we now translate differently a little bit in modern language. Kadachat, for example, is the Hebrew term for malaria. Thank God the world combated that in the 60s, and there was even a year of combating malaria. I think it was 62, and a lot of countries in the world issued stamps with a gigantic mosquito. If I saw a mosquito in real life, I would run for my life. Um, but kadachat and shachefet, which in modern Hebrew is tuberculosis, Rashi translates a little bit differently, and all kinds of other illnesses that are mentioned. And we should recognize that we are in some way like these children who are helpless against all these illnesses, but also ask Hashem to heal us from all of it and to bless us with a new year. The tradition of the Jewish people is to read the curses in Leviticus and Vayikra the week before the week of Shavuot, Matan Torah, and the custom is to read the curses of Ki Tavo, our parsha, the week before the week of Rosh Hashanah, because on Rosh Hashanah we re-sign the covenant between us and Hashem, and we are asking Hashem to inscribe us in the book of life and not to have any of these illnesses anymore. And so that is my understanding and connection to this halacha, and we'll stop here and open up for questions.